Star Bowling with the top bowling stars of America. Brought to you by Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Top Star Bowling from the Hoffman Lanes here at Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And here we are with another feature for you with two very fine bowlers to introduce. I'm Jack Buck. Very shortly you'll be meeting Whittier Harris. And each week we have two top star bowlers come here from different points around the country to try to reach for part of the $40,000 in prize money that is involved. Here on this particular show, $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the loser, and a very attractive style wristwatch for each of the participants. The two men today are both very fine team bowlers, having been on national champions. And here on our King of the Hill format, we have a gentleman holding fourth who last week defeated Dick Agee for the right to return. And he's from Detroit, Mr. Therm Gibson. Therm, good to see you.
Nice to be here, Jack.
Right, and we have a nice crowd on hand to watch your performance here today, and perhaps you can walk off with another $1,000.
I sure would like to.
You still have part of that other left?
Still got a little of it left.
A little of it left. Let's meet his opponent this week. He is likewise a member of a team, national team title holders, and he is from California, now from St. Louis, Glenn Allison. Glenn, good to see you.
Thank you, Jack. It's a pleasure being here.
Your opponent for today really hit these lanes last week, and you've got your hands full.
It sure looks like it.
And we have, as we have had in the past and usually have here on the show, quite a contrast in style, and it should be fun for you folks to watch. We have a three-game match, total pins count, and Glenn Allison, the very best to you.
Thank you.
And to you, Therm Gibson.
Thanks, Jack.
Shake hands, come out fighting. You folks all set for Top Star Bowling? Therm Gibson won the toss. Glenn Allison leading off on 29, and we're off and running here in our three-game match. Watch the big follow-through, the big lift, and the big 9 pins as he leaves the 6. Glenn Allison, a very stylish bowler from Whittier, California, now living in St. Louis. He has a host of titles that we can tell you about as we go along here. Glenn going for the spare here in the first frame. And he covers. Now Therm Gibson from Detroit. We told you about his team accomplishments. He was member of the BPAA National Team Champions 5 times. ABC Team Champions 3 times. Claps the hands and leaves the 4-7. He was a bit high. Ordinarily, when Therm gives you that hand clap, it's an indication, at least to him, that the ball is going to be in the pocket. And so you'll know that he was a bit disappointed with that leave, that 4-7, because he thought he was going to carry that time. We referred to the gentleman earlier. He's Jerome Whittier Harris, seated alongside, a member of the Brunswick advisory staff. He's acting as statistician. He'll give you his expert interpretation of these matches. Spare for each man in the first frame, so we start all even up. This tournament is sanctioned, by the way, by the ABC. Lanes have been certified by the American Bowling Congress, constantly checked week after week. $40,000 in prize money will change hands before it's all over. Therm Gibson holds that ball off to the right, really turns it over. He crosses it over, he's on the Brooklyn side, and he leaves the 3-6, and so 18 is his pin count in the first frame. Glenn Allison watching intently as Therm Gibson goes for the spare. And he covers. It's interesting to watch Allison, and we'll have a chance to do so as this match progresses, as his opponent is delivering the ball. Glenn usually casts his eyes to the ceiling rather than watching to see what happens. Let's see who's the first to get on a strike here. He crossed over, and he almost got the Brooklyn, whereas Therm Gibson left a couple. The 6-pin remains for Glenn Allison, so he has a 1-pin lead. Unimportant, you say? Well, we've had some very, very close matches here. One frame is just as important as the other. He starts to the extreme left as he goes for the 6-pin. And covers it, and they each have 2 spares. You would think that we'd run out of fine bowling names to present to you, but that's not the case here in Top Star Bowling, because coming down the line, and first of all, the opponent for the winner of this particular show is Billy Golombiewski. He'll be here, not in order, but those following will be Pete Carter and Joe Joseph and Ray Bluth, Harry Smith, Al Savas, and others. Is that the first strike of the game? Yes, it is. So Glenn Allison gets on a strike here in the 3rd frame. We have some fine ladies' matches for you to enjoy as well, along with the outstanding men bowlers. What's the long glide that Therm Gibson employs in his approach? 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's all the way up there, rolling that ball up, and he doesn't match the strike thrown at him by Glenn Allison as he leaves the 4-pin. We have some fine bowlers here in the audience that we'll be able to point out to you as we go along. We're in the 3rd frame. Therm Gibson trying for his 3rd spare of the game. And he covers it. Didn't make much noise as he did so. He was leaning a little bit, tilting. He covered it, however. He has 37. Through the 2nd frame with the spare up, he's 2 pins down to Glenn Allison, who can gain a worthwhile lead by stroking a double in the 4th frame. Let's see what Mr. Gibson does here in his 4th. Claps the hands, walks away, gets the strike. So 1 strike for each man, but it took Therm Gibson 1 frame longer than it did Glenn Allison. A double here would represent a pickup of 10 pins in the scoring for Glenn. Gets that ball out, and boy, that looked like a dandy hit, but was evidently a bit high. Can you always say it was high hit, Whitey, when you leave that 4-pin or leave that 7-pin?
Yes, Jack, because either by being high, the ball it jumps in there, and as a result, the pin action will take the pin around the 4-pin.
So even though they may look good, why, most of the time it'll be a high hit. And so Glenn failed to take advantage of his strike, and we're going to have to wait and see what Gibson does when he comes up in the 5th frame. Glenn Allison spares in the 4th. Rolls in the 5th frame now.
It's interesting to note Allison's approach, Jack. It's just about like Agee. They have that flexing of the knees right before they start.
We saw Dick Agee last week. Doesn't quite have that deep bow that Agee took. There's a thin hit that rocks everything, including the 4-5, which do not fall. Thought he might have a sweeper that time. That ball failed to carry it through there. Had it done so and gotten at 5, he probably would have had the action to take down the 4 also. But as it is, he has a rather precarious split to shoot at here in the 5th frame. Has to go right between them, and he ran by the 5-pin. Gave it a good whirl. He opens in the 5th frame, and Allison has 86 through the 5th, and let's see if Therm Gibson can take advantage of his only strike in the game so far by getting a double and taking the lead. Gibson, as Whitey Harris told you last week, will put that ball off to the right. Give himself a line. He's inside with that one, and in the pocket for a double. Seemed to be playing a little different angle that time, Whitey, but he had the speed to hold the angle, and it stayed right at that pocket. He just threw right at it that time. 57 with a double up for Gibson, and 86 through the 5th for Allison. audience watching the show and enjoying the show, and these professional bowlers enjoy good bowling just as much or more so than anybody else. We have Miss Marion Ladwig, one of the fine lady bowlers. We have Ray Bluth and Pete Carter, two of the fine men champions. And they're very intent as they watch. They watch everything that goes on, and that's what you should be doing if you're a bowler. Glenn Allison comes back with a strike after his open, after his split in the fifth frame. But Therm Gibson has a three-bagger working for him.
Mind if I correct her, Jack, on that last statement?
Do so.
Because I don't think she's one of the fine bowlers. This is the greatest woman bowler of all times.
Well, I stand corrected. She is a participant on the Top Star Bowling Series, of course. Okay, Therm Gibson. Okay, Therm Gibson, if you want to play that way, says Glenn Allison. Won't take quite so long this way. Might as well both play the game. Name the game, I'll play the same, says Allison. Now Gibson with three, looking for four. In the seventh frame. Claps the hands, and he seemed a bit high, but carried again. Came back scratching his head and talking to Glenn Allison. Glenn isn't in a conversational mood, but that doesn't stop Therm. He has to get something off his chest, and he said it. That's four in a row for him. That was not the best of the four hits, but they all count, don't they? Gibson in his eighth frame. Right on the head pin, and he got away the last time, but he didn't get away this time. Leaves the 6-7.
You were correct, Jack, in saying that he did get away with it. And it just looks like he has been getting away with the pitch. It looks like he's just leading that ball into the head pin and having it drop off the head pin.
Mm-hmm. This time they didn't drop for him. That stops his string at 4. 6-7 split is what he has to pick. It, of course, can be made. And Gibby's going to give it a whirl. But he was too full on that pin, and he opened. So each man has an open. There was a split for Allison. You remember the 4-5 back in the fifth frame. And now the 6-7 for Therm Gibson. Allison has a double going of his own, and things are quite interesting here in the first game of the three-game match. Glenn on 30. And he leaves the 5-9. He crossed over enough to the point where he almost had one of those very thin Brooklyn hits that oftentimes carry, but these pro bowlers are seldom that bad, so you don't see them very often. I get a lot of those when I bowl, not a lot, 10 or 12 a game.
I saw you shoot 600 one time, so that's to your credit.
Glenn Allison shooting at the 5-9, and he marks in the 8th frame. So both had a string of strikes stopped. Allison with a double. Can't quite call that a string. Therm Gibson had 4, and then he opened, each man with an open. Allison shooting in the 9th frame. Be 19 pins down with a 10 count right here. There it is. Hey, do you see that 4 pin? A little flick, and down went the 7. That one almost looked up here like it was in slow motion. Everything else had happened, and the 4 pin was still moving. It racked that 7 off. It went for his strike, giving him 154 through the 8th. Difference is 19 pins. And let's see if Gibson can match the strike in the 9th. Whoops. 7 pin. I don't know what in the world's going to happen now, because he's been carrying in that particular spot with that sort of hit, and he also came up with a split.
I noticed Gibby look at the approach, Jack, back here where he's starting position. He's probably figuring on maybe making a change of a board or two on his starting position.
We'll watch him when he throws over here again. There's his spare in the 9th frame. So Allison, who is down by 19 pins, has a strike to work on when he comes up in the roll-off. Gibson is working on a spare here in his 10th frame. He needs 3 strikes for 223. The big story in his game so far, the 4 strikes that he put together starting in the 4th frame. And the 4 pin. He's right around that pocket. You have to say that for him. And when you're there, you're dangerous. I have a feeling later on that Glenn Allison is going to make this one just about even.
He'd have to get them all, Jack. He'd have a 2-pin advantage if Thurman would strike after he picks his spare.
Shooting at the 4-pin. Therm Gibson covers it nicely. Boy, that split really slowed him down, didn't it? 192 through the 9th for Gibson. 212 with a 10 count here. And a 9 count. 211. 211 for Therm Gibson. Not a bad start. Glenn Allison has 154 through the 8th with a strike up. 214 if he can go all the way, and that would have him out in front by 3 pins, but he needs these first 2. Otherwise, he'll be trailing. Whoops. 5-9. Same thing on the same lane in his previous delivery. Just about the same spot, too. Same sort of a hit. So he's going to be trailing. The best he can do now is to come back with a 194, and thus he'd be 17 pins off the pace being set by Therm Gibson, who last week vanquished Dick Agee. Uh-oh. Yep. I must have been the only one in the house worried because I didn't hear anything else.
Jack, I think Glenn, who is on the side of the ball and gets a good lift, his ball will jump on this right lane, whereas Therm can make the ball set. I think this is the problem Allison's going to have. Try to overcome it.
Glenn needs this for 194. He'll also employ the knowledge gained from this delivery. Once again, he was on the head pin, gets an 8 count. And Glenn Allison finishes our first game with 192, and for Therm Gibson it was 211. And it is a 19-10 lead at the end of our first game. Message for you right here. Then we'll be back to meet one of our bowlers. Glenn Allison, I have no check for $1,000 for you at the moment. Maybe that'll happen later, but you're going to have to do something about this 19-pin lead that Therm Gibson has.
I sure am, but in order to do that, I'm going to have to find out how to hit this lane number 30.
I was going to ask you about that. In 3 of your 5 deliveries, you're over on the Brooklyn side. What's happening?
Well, I'm hitting the foul line a little bit stiff-kneed. It's making me pull the shot to the left.
So that's what we should be watching, the knees?
That's right.
And you seem to be hitting the other quite well.
Well, so far so good. I just hope I can keep it up.
A split for each, so there's not much to talk about with regard to the first game. Just going to have to keep plugging away.
Except when I'm 19 pins behind.
Well, that's the problem we have to take care of right now. Good luck to you as we continue along.
Thank
and
you.
to you too, Therm Gibson. Not rooting for everybody. You folks all set for the second game here in Top Star Bowling? Well, let's see how Therm Gibson gets started here in the second game. He's on 29. And he's on the nose, and he got away from that split as the 6-pin toppled for him. Well, it's amazing the things these bowlers come up with as to the reasons for a particular thing. The stiff need is something that never occurred to me. We're going to have to watch that when Glenn gets up to bowl. Here's Therm Gibson going to a 4-pin and getting a spare in the first frame.
It's the same old story, Jack, that these are professionals, and they go into the game a little deeper than the average bowler, and as a result, they pick up these fine points.
Let's watch right here. He was down there pretty low, lifted it up a bit high, and he got away as the 9-pin dropped. He leaves the 4-7. So the best he can do right here is match Therm Gibson in the first frame. In the opening game here, Glenn Allison shot 192, Therm Gibson 211. They each had 1 open. Allison with a split in the 5th, Gibson with a split in the 8th. Gibson put 4 in a row together, and that's the difference. Spare for each man. Billy Golumbieski will be the opponent for the winner in this particular contest. He'll be good to watch. He's a dandy little character. We'll have some good visits with him out on the approaches. Hal Savis, Harry Smith, Pete Carter, Ray Bluth, Joe Joseph. Plus our fine lady bowlers. That was a bomb. That was a real cruncher that time. Each man had 4 strikes in the first game. Gibson put his together. Allison was able to get 1 double. Therm Gibson working on a spare. Very thin hit leaves a 2-4-5. A lot of the older folks around here, they enjoy watching the bowling, and then they put that knowledge which they gain to use. Because more and more of the senior citizens are organizing into bowling groups around the country. Perhaps you know of some. I'll tell you more about it after we watch Therm fire at the 2-4-5 right here. You know, these folks, a lot of whom are retired, have found bowling to be an excellent form of recreation. And it's resulted in organized leagues. If you'd like a seniors league in your town and you know of none, see your bowling proprietor and he'll give you all the help you need toward getting a league organized. Of course, if you're too old, like Whittier Harris, forget it. Gibson working on a spur, and he gets a strike.
I have to come back with that one, Jack, but it's funny, around the Hoffman Lanes here, there's a team, they're at the age of average, the whole team, not average, but it's 360 years.
Total age?
Total age.
That's something. And they're as much fun as anybody. Here's Allison looking for a double. Bowling on 30, which has troubled him. Crosses over again, leaves a 6-10 on the Brooklyn side. So he still hasn't been able to correct the problem that exists for him on 30. Gives him 20 in the first frame. And he's chopped into that 19-pin lead somewhat. Sixth frame goes down. He has 40 in the second frame. With a spare up, he's picked up 3 pins. He trails by 16. Man's not too big a fellow. 5'7", 150 pounds. And now he's doing the same thing on both lanes. So he hasn't been in the pocket with the consistency that Therm Gibson has.
It's the same old story, Jack, of when they're having trouble with one lane and they can't get free enough, even on the other lane. This looks like what has happened to Allison.
They seem to get out of the groove. 3-6. Ooh, he really did. He's holding the old thicker as he comes back. Thump, thump, thump. That will take your breath away, isn't it? Won't it? The Detroiter looking for a double. He knew something. There was a hand clap. Down it went. There is his double. He started with 2 spares. No, a double. Allison with spare strike, spare.
Jack, I don't know if this is a pattern for Gibson, but if you'll notice that in the other game, he's been able to always do the cluster of strikes.
Right. He only had 4 in the first game, and he put those together to open up a lead. Now here is in the 5th frame. Looking for a 3-bagger turkey. And he knew that one was going to be higher, and he was hoping perhaps it would carry for him, but the 4-pin remains. It's amazing what you can tell by watching the ballers up on the approach. They know sometimes when they first put the ball down when it's going to do it for them. He was trying to keep that one from coming up any more than it did. As it turned out, it came up a little bit too much. Whoops. We didn't take a lot of time measuring that spare.
I think this is a Therm's actually on some of his spares. He will rush and get it over with.
Here is Glenn Allison, 5th frame. Working on a spare, trailing in the merge. Let's see if we're going to hit it this time. Hey, it's a good one. So he finally laid one in on 30. It's 78 through the 4th with a strike working for Allison. 86 through the 4th with a spur up for Gibson. that's worthwhile. Allison has to put another right behind it here in the 6th frame of the second game. Is he there? Oh, on the pin, and the 7-pin wouldn't go down for him. The 6, 7, 10 looks at him. So there's the other extreme. Rather than the double, which would narrow the gap, he goes up with a split, which it appears put Therm Gibson even further out in front. It was ahead by 19 when this game started. Six, 7, 10. Can he wheel it? Well, pretty close. That thing is so touchy over there that he can give it a very fine shot and still not pick up that spare. Go over that split. Therm Gibson is working on a spare. Allison has opened in the 6th. The difference in the match brought 27 pins in favor of the current bowler, Therm Gibson. He's not having any trouble over there. Therm is always extremely concerned with the footing on the approach, the slide, the glide.
I think, Jack, this isn't a case of where perhaps you might at this particular house the approach is the way. This is just a characteristic of Therm.
This is a primary concern of Therm Gibson, and looking for a double in the 7th frame, and head pin and leaves the 4-7. So he has to bring this back for 126, a pickup of 20 pins on Glenn Allison in this game, which would make the difference 39 pins in the match so far. $1,000 for the winner, $500 for the loser. The LaSalle wristwatch, which is for men and women of action, will go to each of the participants. And Therm gets a spare in the 7th. 106 for Allison through the 6th. 126 through the 6th for Gibson, working on a spare. Then Allison is up in the 7th frame, trailing by 39 pins as the second game comes to a close. On the lane, bothered him a bit. Looks like he might be there. The ball dived in. He gets a 9 draw. Leaves the 7-pin. Looked like he was there, Whitey, but couldn't hold the line as the ball dived on him.
Yeah, I think it's, as we stated before, Jack, it's because Glenn, the ball has such a powerful lift, and that's causing that ball to jump.
The ball's got to run for him no matter how hard he throws. So he is trying to bring back the score. And he goes. You folks will notice that Glenn Allison's ball causes a late break hook. In other words, he has plenty on the ball with a lot of lift, and when it takes, it does take. When he's in the pocket, when he finds a lane, he carries with the best of them. Here he is on 29, working on that spare, and he laid one in there. It's only his 3rd strike of the game. He had but 4 in the first game. The ability of Therm Gibson to put the strikes together has made the difference. He's had this game's only a double, and so he has increased the lead, which was 19 pins at the start of the second game. Therm is up now in his 8th frame. He's working on a spare, trying to match the strike just thrown at him by Glenn Allison. And he makes it. He equalizes the strike. Now let's see who's going to get the double as the 9th frame is with us. Gibson in the 9th frame, and he's on the head pin, leaves the 4th pin. And as we've said before, we're not being critical of Therm Gibson, but only trying to analyze the game here. He has gotten away with a few nose hits. See, I tell you, fine family activity at this time of year, or any time of year. So Mom and Dad to go bowling with the youngsters. Take them out for 2 to 3 lines. Gibson shooting the 4-pin, and he gets his rare in the 9th frame. Plenty of enjoyment with family bowling. You'll be getting the youngsters started in the sport that we'll be able to enjoy for years to come. It'll be good exercise for Mom and Dad this weekend. Why don't you go bowling as a family? Both bowlers could hit 216 if they go all the way. Is that it? Oh, he came closer and closer, coming closer and closer. Leaves the 4-pin on 30. Left with 7-pin there previously. So Glenn going for the spare in the 9th frame. And he gets it.
I think, Jack, this is a good example of why these fellows are top pros, and why you often read that one fellow wins a tournament one week, another one wins another. It's just because of the different ways that we have to adjust, and where one fellow runs the lanes where he has to throw hard, the other fellow that throws soft can't do it.
Glenn has his easiest lane here for roll off. Let's see if he takes advantage of it. What a time to get a 10-pin. Hang up on the lane he desired. Leaves a 10-pin, giving him 165 through the 9th. He has to bring back this 10-pin strike for 185. Meanwhile, Therm Gibson could go on to 216 if he could pop 3 of them in his roll-off. Glenn is there on the 10th. Allison scored with 192. His game will be worse this time. Sam Gibson started with 211, and he can better that. Allison finishes with 185, and that's the one who wanted at the start of the roll-off. And so it's 185, 374 for Glenn. 377. Now Therm Gibson working on a spare. Hoping for 3 strikes in the roll-off. And beautifully in the pocket. Now here's the important ball. Here's the one that would make the big difference in the score. We're going to hit this one. Therm Gibson looking for the double here. The frame claps the hands. Thought he was in there. Loses 7-pin. So the very important second strike here in the roll-off was not his to be had. He's going to end with 206 if he carries his 7-pin. That would give him 472 and a 40-pin advantage over Glenn Allison. There's the 3rd game to get underway. 40 pins, not too much in this game of bowling. 206 for Therm Gibson. So, as we look back, Glenn Allison had 192, 185, 377. Therm Gibson, 211, 206, 417. A 40-pin lead for Therm Gibson, to whom we'll be talking when we come back in just a moment. Therm Gibson has just about doubled the lead that he enjoyed at the end of the first game, but we have a rather unique thing going, Therm, in that you're able to hit the one lane and Glenn the other, and neither of you can hit the one particular lane.
I haven't even thought about it till now.
I don't want to confuse you, but
Okay.
what are you going to do about 29 over here?
I
You've
hadn't
been
even thought about it.
Been leaving all these 4 pins. You're going to be doing anything differently here in the
Now
third
that
game?
you straighten me out, maybe I will.
Oh, now who gets the blame if you only win $500? And who takes the credit?
I'll take the blame. You can have the credit if I win 1,000.
Okay, fine.
Okay?
We'll leave it that way. Are you going to do anything different over there, Therm, or not?
Well, I'm going to try to now. I'm going to try to do a little harder, maybe.
Speed up your delivery a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. We'll be watching as we go along here, Therm. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And your opponent, Glenn Allison. We're all set for the 3rd and final game here on Top Star Bowling. You folks ready? I can see that I could get in trouble in this game, Whitey. Let's see what happens with Glenn Allison as he gets us off and running here in the 3rd and final game on 29. He starts with a split, and that's no way to start for me. 40 pins down.
I can get you out of that, Jack, where you had the problem with Therm, and I think one of the reasons why Therm was so concerned was to tell you how he was playing 29 with Pete Carter and Ray Bluth sitting over there. he's not going to give out any information that they'll use later on in the show.
Right. Well, the 4-6 ribbon causes an open for Allison in the first frame. This match is far from being over. You stick right there, and I'm sure Glenn will give you some thrills before this is closed out. There's that rather high hit that carries for Therm again. Gibson had 4 strikes in the first game, 5 in the short room. Allison has had 4 in each. So there's only a difference in 1 strike so far, but Gibson has been able to put his together in better fashion. And in fact, he's trying for a double right here. There's the Brooklyn. His eyes swept up to the ceiling. He didn't leave a 4-pin that time. This Allison would probably kill me for even reminding me what was going on as if he didn't know.
Well, he certainly made a change, a complete change, almost out of the bowling lane.
Okay, here's Allison. And there it is. Boy, you could see that, you could read that happening as he continued to throw on 30. He was altering his line and seemed to be speeding the ball up more and more with each frame on that lane, and finally he went in there. Now let's see if he comes back with a double to match the double Therm Gibson threw at him, and behold, he doesn't get up there. And for the second time today, he leaves the 4-5. When you're battling for $1,000, these things are far from being humorous. They are quite frustrating. Glenn Allison has won a couple of PBA Opens, Professional Bowling Association, Professional Bowlers Association, the Memphis Open, the Salt Lake City Open. He got that split. So 29 through the second for Allison. And he picked that split nicely. He's had 1 open in this game. Gibson looking for 3. Gets it. Started with a 40 advantage, has increased that. He's in the 60s now and could add to it with another hit. Billy Golubievsky will be the opponent for the winner of this match. And he's in there. Got that good 6-pin action, and he looked over me and said, "Thank you. I don't want any of that." I'll split the money with him, but I won't argue with Allison. Now let's see if Glenn can come back on this one. One way, get it the other. Beautiful, says Glenn as he comes back. So 49 through the third. With a strike in the fourth for Allison, and Gibson is Dory with 4 in a row. Then Allison would like to start matching those strikes. There he is with a double. Allison had 1 double in the first game. Could not double in the second game. That's his 3rd strike in the 3rd game here, and he has a double. Now here's Therm Gibson looking for 5. And the 4-pin stops him. The 4-pin stops him. His hits have been very similar all the way down the line. They've been carrying for him. Not this time, however. But he has an 80-pin lead over Glenn Allison. Therm shooting the 4-pin. And so, through the 5th game of the 5th frame of the final game of the match, Glenn Allison has 49 through the 3rd, working on a double. Gibson has 109 through the 4th, and he has a spare up. Tack a few strikes on there, he could close the gap in a hurry. You never know what's going to happen with the opponent either. But Gibson gets back on one. Were it not for that 4-pin in the 5th frame, that would be 6 in a row for Gibson. Allison working on a double. Glenn striding inside. And he got that's his third start in a row, two of them Brooklyn. And Glenn stole a glance at the folks we told you were in the audience, Marion Ladewig and Bluth and Pete Carter, and as if he were a bit ashamed of himself, but...
Jack, they're ashamed until they look over at the scoreboard and they see that strike up there.
He really needed it. Maybe he can make the most of it, right? He's at a 5-pin. Well, he's all over the place right now. It's quite obvious. So the best he could do was 3 in a row, get some strung 4 of them together here in this game. See, the lead was up to 80. Now it's down to, about 61 pins, giving you an idea of how quickly the advantage can disappear. And if Allison had been able to hit right, this would be more than interesting. It's still interesting, but it wouldn't be more so. Glenn has 128 through the 6th with a spare up. Remember, he started this game with a split in the first frame. Gibson was wide open. He started with 4 in a row. Gibson is now in the 7th frame. Quid double. Trying to add to his 61-pin lead. There it is. So 6 out of 7 have been strikes. He's anxious. He can hardly wait for the ball to come back. And it comes very quickly enough. He wants to run up there and start firing again. While the flames leap higher, he wants in the fire. In the 8th frame, looking for 3 in a row. And the ball out, turning it over, running away, and leaving the 5. The 5-7 was there for a moment. I'm sure you saw it. The 7 dropped, the 5 did not.
Always interesting note. This gets back to when that automatic comes down on that pin, the ABC ruling is that if the automatic hits the pin, it's then reset.
Even if it knocks the pin down, right?
That's right.
Shoots at the 5 pin, gets it. He has no open. Went through the second game without an open and had only a split in the first game to mar his performance. On 30, Glenn Allison working on a spare. Trying to get hot here at the close. Threw that one out the window. Just did get up to the head pin. Leaves the 2-4 foul. Glenn in the 8th frame. Gibson had the better of him in the first game, 211 to 192. Therm again on top of him with the second game, 206 to 185. A 40-pin lead for Therm at the end of 2 games, and he's winning this one as well. And the spare. Allison 145 through the 7th with a spare up. So it's been all Therm Gibson. This match all but over. 9 count on the spare, and then 8th frame for Allison, 164 through the 8th. Glenn Allison from St. Louis. Won the classic doubles in 62 with Dick Hoover, who was participating in Top Star Bowling. Glenn has won a lot of individual tournaments. Here's Therm Gibson, a veteran of the bowling wars, bowling in the 9th frame. Working on a spare. And leaving the 7 pin. It gives Therm 103 through the 8th. Bring it 197. And a spare in the 9th frame for Therm Gibson. Therm Therm could end up with a fine total. Started this game with a 417 for the two games. Therm can pop three of them here. He could get 247. There's the first one. Giving him 217 through the ninth. He's had a lot of strikes. That's his seventh strike of this game. Two more for 9 strikes and 247. One of the few times that he has failed to get up to that head pin. I believe it's the first time, Whitey, in this match that he didn't hit that head pin, right?
Yes, that's correct, Jack. He's had a wonderful line, Therm has, and he's got all he's been hitting for.
Or cuts his potential down to 237 if he can take down the 124. And he does. A 654 series for Therm Gibson. 654. He bowled 211, 206, and 237. Had 7 strikes in his last game. Once again, Glenn Allison having trouble with lane number 30, but his best effort in the entire match was a 3-bagger that he put together here in the third game. Glenn Allison is going to be richer by 500 when this is over. Therm Gibson will have won another 1,000. He won 1,000 by beating Dick Adrian last week. For Allison in the 10th has to bring it back with the 10th grunt for 202. And so the totals on the match: Glenn Allison the loser with 579, Therm Gibson the winner for the second week in a row with a 654. We'll be back to hand out the prize money and the watches and meet the bowlers in just a minute. Well, St. Louis bowed to Detroit in this particular session of Top Star Bowling. You want to meet the men once again and hear what they have to say, and I have the prizes to hand out, so let's call up the St. Louisan, Glenn Allison. Glenn? Glenn, you fall in these 3-game matches, and you can't make that adjustment in a hurry. Why, it's all over early, isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of beat myself out here today. I misread the lanes a little bit. And didn't give myself too much of a chance, besides the fact that I was bowling bad. So.
And then at the same time, Therm was in that pocket most of the 3 games.
He hit that pocket real well, especially that 20 line after you told him it was doing something wrong.
Now. This is very attractive LaSalle wristwatch for you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Along with a check for $500. There's a share here on Top Star Bowling. How about that last pitch on 30? That was your best hit of the entire match, was it not?
That got up to the point where it didn't make any difference anymore. You got loosened up and threw the good ball.
You know, that often happens in competition like this, doesn't it? When you're bowling against a guy and maybe you get behind, you loosen up a little bit. Next thing you know, you're right back in the match because you are bowling a little more freely.
Yes, I've had it happen in a couple of times. Same kind of thing.
Well, Therm got the better of you, and there'll be other days when you can even things up for St. Louis against Detroit.
I hope so.
Glenn, we've enjoyed having you with us, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Glenn Allison, good people. I know you enjoyed it. And for the second week in a row, our winner, Therm Gibson.
Oh, I know. I'm just kidding.
I know, but it's very interesting to talk to both the winner and the loser, because there's a lot of bowling to be learned as we get their ideas of what they wanted to do and what they couldn't do. Here for the second week in a row, you pretty much stayed with the same game, right?
Yes.
You seem to be putting the ball not too far out, getting a lot of roll to the ball, and almost on top of the ball at times.
A lot of times, yes.
It seemed to us.
The ball holds the line a little better when you go a little over the top.
It seemed to us back there, Whitey and I, that you looked high, but you carried.
That's when you go over the top of the ball settles.
What do you mean by settle?
Settles. Into the pocket or falls back into the pocket.
So rather than rowing on through, it just
That's right.
changes course in there, being on top of the ball. Well, here's the LaSalle wristwatch for your display when you come back here again next week.
Thank you.
And another $1,000.
Thank you again.
$654. That's better than you did when you defeated
Yes,
Dick
it is.
Agee.
I think I had 640 something.
And you've got a fellow Detroit bowler, Billy Golombiewski,
Yes,
to take on.
Former teammate of mine. In fact, he's really tough.
Angry at each other, eh?
No.
So it'll be a lot of fun?
Yes, it will.
Very fine. Therm, nice to have had you with us
All right.
once. See you next week.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Therm Gibson, our winner. $54 to $579 were the final totals. And the one fellow, Billy Golombiewski, but in the future we have other fine bowlers coming along. Joe Joseph, Al Savis, and a good many others about whom we've told you in the past. Pete Carter, both of whom were in our office today. The ladies' matches that you have to look forward to. Top Star Bowling is a good thing to watch every week, I hope you agree. And our winner today, Therm Gibson, will be back next week here at the Hoffman Lanes, Hoffman Estates, Illinois, to take on Billy Golombiewski. Jack Buck says thanks for your time this time. Till next time, so long. Star Bowling has been presented by Sound, the Precision Jewel Watch. Bowling equipment by Brunswick, the #1 name in bowling. Top Star Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress.